While going through the horrifying systems of slavery, sharecropping, and the Jim Crow era, early African Americans made significant contributions to science and technology. Unfortunately, very few of us know these achievements because nothing is known about Africa's history before ancient Egypt. There were complexity and astounding inventions throughout ancient sub-Saharan Africa, in addition to the remarkable black civilization in Egypt, which continues to be attractive today. Well, let us find out why Europeans taking credit for African achievements in history. I am sure this video will send an electrical impulse to this long-deadened nerve. Perhaps it's a tragedy that only a portion of African history remains from when Europeans first came to the continent and began colonizing it. Aside from this, no documentation of black history hasn't been altered or falsified, which is why African achievements have ended up in the hands of Europeans. Since no documentation could establish a connection between Africa and the inventions on which Europeans have left their names. Despite this, some good news emerged. Due to the existence of the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, academics and anthropologists have developed a keen interest in Africa. They ponder that such a gorgeous monument could exist in Egypt, an African nation. There were further civilizations, which raises the possibility that Africa may have hidden architectural treasures and technologies behind layers of rocks and dust. Great Zimbabwe is known for the largest stone remains south of the Sahara. They are one of the wonders of African civilization. However, evidence indicates that the Shona people who lived in the area at the time created magnificent stone walls. Initially, outsiders were given credit for creating the structures. It served as the epicenter of a thriving Indian ocean-wide gold commerce. Early European visitors found it difficult to believe that Africans built such impressive monuments and instead attributed their creation to other groups. You can see how people were trying to attribute African achievements to Africans. Despite the evidence, Portuguese traders in the late 1500s speculated that the city might be the legendary Queen of Sheba city. However, visitors to the site believed that Phoenicians, Arabs, Egyptians, or even the fabled Christian king Prester John had built it. While Benin and Oyo were more powerful cities in the 10th and 11th centuries, Elif was a prosperous city and home to the Oni, the ruler of the Yoruba people and their spiritual leader. Ilefe was renowned for its art and cultural significance, particularly its sculptures. Foreigners were surprised by the discovery of the Ife sculptures, but many were dismissive or refused to recognize their African roots. Did you know from where the first method of counting developed? Any guesses? If you guessed in favor of Egyptians, then you are a genius. Over 35,000 years ago, the Egyptians wrote arithmetic textbooks that featured division, mathematical formulas to determine the area and volume of forms, and the division and multiplication of fractions. They applied maths to estimate the size of the Nile floods. However, they assumed that a circle had 360 degrees and calculated an estimate of pi of 3.16. Well, that's the correct figure known today. The Egyptians, however, were not the only ones. However, this is not the end of their achievements. Therapies and medical procedures were developed in Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa before Europe rose to prominence. Plants like kaolin for diarrhea and salicylic acid for pain treatment were used. It was discovered in the 20th century that some extracts might kill gram-positive bacteria. Not only that, but Africans also developed effective remedies for malaria, cancer, and even abortion. Yes, when Europeans didn't know how to live, Africans were witnessing a higher living standard. A calendar is a tool to identify the start and finish of each year and divide time into fixed intervals. Did you know that a structure can be a surprisingly accurate calendar? It's so amazing how the Egyptians developed a calendar with 365¼ days and methodically tracked the motion of the sun, the constellations, and the moon's phases. They even made clocks out of moving water and sundial-like instruments. However, as we all know, Europeans are unfairly blamed for all of these inventions. Most of us thought that Europeans were the first people to sail to the Americas were Europeans. However, several pieces of evidence indicate that ancient Africans may have traveled to South America and Asia hundreds of years before the arrival of the Europeans. Numerous prehistoric societies constructed a wide range of watercraft, including tiny reed-based craft, sailboats, and larger vessels with many rooms and cooking facilities. To stay updated, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. There is more coming soon.